welcome to Startup Central. I'm Nayantara Rai. This is your daily fix for anything to do with startups, of course, but also entrepreneurship, technology, innovation, disruption. Pretty much like all the founders, startups, investors that we feature on the show, the Startup Central team loves constructive feedback. So don't hold back. Tell us how we can improve. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. I'm also on Twitter. Reach out to me directly. Today I have a very special guest in the studio with me. It is Kunal Shah, serial entrepreneur, Freecharge, and now Cred. Kunal, welcome to our studio. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me over here.
I'm going to talk to you about Cred, your new app and your new business in just a while. But we are days away from 1st of February when Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be presenting the budget. Is the startup universe even looking at the budget as a cue?
I think startups are now paying attention to a lot of these things because they have become large enough where some of these policies and steps taken by the government do impact startups. I think if I have to have two asks from the minister, I would say first is around financial literacy. I think the country needs that a lot. Recently, I did a survey on Twitter. I asked people that if I gave you two options, if I gave you 20 crores upfront or 10 lakh rupees per month till you die, most people pick the second option and they do not even understand why the second option is a bad idea. And this is the affluent audience. This is the top 2% of India. And I think unless we actually put that part into our education system, into some kind of awareness campaigns where people don't understand how money operates. Nandara, 95% of people who have credit cards today are the first people who got the credit card in their entire family, right? And they do not know how some of these things operate, how the interest rate works. So my one ask is that a special allocation from the budget just to create financial literacy, and it is going to really go a long way. The second ask is consistency on policies, right? If we are going to have a situation where things change often, the investors' confidence is going to be always weak and they need certainty. Certainty is not about saying that, hey, make it tax-free and all of that. It's just that, is it going to be consistent with a long-term view? If things don't change with a 10-year view, then people can kind of work around with that and know this is the reality of business and doing business in India. And I think what has happened is that when I meet some of the investors who are trying to do late-stage investment, early stage is okay, it's used to uncertainty. The late-stage investment is expecting certainty in terms of policies, taxes, all of that. And I think we can do a lot better on that, and that is my second ask from the minister, that if we can somehow bring certainty which has consistency and clarity around everything to do with policies, taxes, whatever it is. I'm not an expert to comment.
There is so much exuberance when we talk about the startup universe. It's very different from the old economy. Here the animal spirit is actually unleashed. But if you look at the last couple of months, there has been news that would not be lapped up by the startup street, whether it is Piyush Goyal's comments, for example, on Amazon, or it's how the government is looking at e-pharmacies, or even if you look at the Competition Commission of India now wanting to look at Amazon and Flipkart and predatory pricing and all of that. Is that something you guys talk about, or it's just for us in the media and the old economy stakeholders?
When you're doing a startup, you're trying to create new things. No new thing is going to come with ease. It will always clash with things that exist and the things that are constantly changing. Innovation is an unusual thing, right? It's easy to regulate, it's harder to innovate. Right?
Yeah.
And I think we need to understand that when new things are created, it's always going to create this kind of friction. And I think startup guys are used to that. What is harder is for the investors to understand that how to think about the India market, right? I personally believe startups, founders, have learned that if you do business in India, you have to navigate these challenges all the time. But when it comes to investors, right, when they are evaluating the market, we have to understand that they are not going to go to the level of understanding the nuances. And if we show them confidence that here's the way you operate in India, here are the rules, and
because money is coming in, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah, but the thing is, we should not look at this from a short-term perspective, right? The amount of money that is required is a lot more than that. And I think as a country, if we are trying to get to $5 trillion economy, we need a lot more foreign capital coming in. And I think startups do two things. One, they bring foreign capital. Second, it creates the jobs that we need, right? And if we can ensure that the investor confidence for the late stage investment is strong, we will have more and more people participating.
Right. And in fact, we don't have enough domestic source for the funding at all. We have to rely on the foreign capital, which is not a very good tale to tell when we talk about the Indian economy as well.
Yeah, but if you look at China, I would say 50-60% of all funding now comes from local capital. That happened because the early foreign capital created enough money and wealth with founders, investors, the VCs who were there, that it became domestic funded. I think we are at a very early stage of doing some of these things, but the confidence of investors on how some of the systems are going to be stable is going to matter. Now, I'm not recommending we should have this law or this rule or this policy. I'm not an expert to comment on that. What I know for a fact, as an investor, I need to know this is what it is. And I'll have to deal
and I know
that.
this is what is going to stay like this for some time.
Yes.
Basically, that's what you're asking
exactly.
for. Now, if I could come to your business, you of course sold Freecharge very, very successfully and have started your next venture, Cred. Tell us about Cred.
So, Cred is a members-only platform that gives rewards for paying credit card bills. And that historically, people have been rewarded for using their credit card and literally never been rewarded for paying the credit card bill. And the reason we are doing that, because we want to create a fully transparent platform where people can have good financial behavior, and if they have good financial behavior, they will have more capital to create consumption, right? If you look at the country, we have almost this fear with credit, right? You will see many people saying that, oh shit, I had this credit card, I gave it up and all of that. And we cannot create more consumption. The $5 trillion economy is going to happen with consumption. Consumption requires credit, credit requires trust. And if we can just create that, so our goal is very simple. Can we create a community of valuable members coming to the platform, feeling good for using this product? They get access to good lifestyle. They're able to just manage their cards well. And if in India, if we can make this happen for the top 20-30 million customers, just to give you a sense, India has 52 million credit cards owned by 30 million customers, which spend approximately $8.5 billion a month. And we have 900 million debit cards who also spend $8.5 billion a month. It means a lot of people say that, hey, you're going for a small market, but I would say 60-70% of all consumption in India is done by credit card holders. Okay. And if you can just kind of focus on that and make their life better, that's what we are aiming for. So far, it's been a year, just a little over a year, and we've been very fortunate to kind of get the response. And thanks for all the feedback that you keep sending all the time. We are seeing a great amount of growth. We've just recently crossed close to 1 million payers on the platform, and we are very, very fortunate that the product is shaping quite well. This year, what we are focusing on, we've started merchants on the platform already. So a lot of merchants access these customers and get to know them. So we have interesting set of merchants. We've seen a lot of top brands participating, but interestingly, we have seen D2C brands, around 300 D2C brands.
What is D2C?
So direct to consumer is a new set of brands. So let's say you start a new brand when you say, hey, I'm going to focus on, let's say, hair products, and I've got this range of hair products and I'm going to sell that. Or somebody, like we have a founder who's building baby products, and they do not find these customers easily. The cost of acquisition on other platforms is very, very high. Cred allows a platform where a curated brands can kind of be positioned and trials are created, right? Okay. We do a lot of gym trials, and we are doing a lot of trials for digital video streaming services and so on and so forth. And these merchants are finding a very powerful source in Cred to acquire the most credit-worthy customers, which actually increases their consumption and so on and so forth. Other interesting thing we've seen merchants is that we do a lot of causes. So we recently did where you can donate your coins to plant trees, and we got like 1 million trees planted, right?
Oh, nice.
And
where?
We did this all over the thing. We work with Give India, and we keep taking different cities. Okay. Last month, we completed a project where we said we're going to make 52 parks across our cities from recycled tires. And a lot of members donated their coins, and we made we already made progress. And on our website, you'll see a ton of these parks that we built. And one of the things that we did, all the members who donated the highest amount of coins, their names are put in the park. And it becomes a very powerful thing to kind of contribute towards these societies and community. But the interesting thing that has happened is that now that we have built these customers who are credit worthy, we are now seeing an onset of banks, insurance companies and other financial services coming to the platform, and we'll create a platform for just partnering with them and creating an upsell.
So you'll cross-sell and therefore you won't need a license.
Yes. So we are believing that we are a platform where we are going to have valuable members, and if our members can benefit from merchants of any BFSI, we'll make that facilitation happen, and we will make sure that we are curating things for them. We will ensure that whatever we bring either on the merchant side or on the BFS side passes the test, and the members can kind of be more confident in interacting with this, and versus trying to say, hey, it's an open platform and anybody can list.
So you said you've crossed 1 million pays on Cred. Can you give me an idea of the kind of the value of the financial transactions that have been carried out through Cred?
It's sort of early to talk about, but we've managed to get the customers from the top 10 cities. At this point of time, we've not done mass media, and we've been focused on mostly word of mouth growth. And what we've noticed is that the early set of customers have come from the top 10 cities, largely people below the age of 35, between 27 and 35, the large set of customers. Our rewards are also well designed for that. So fine dine is a big category.
I know, I told Mr. A.D. Singh of the Olive Group, I'm like, you're on Cred and you're not on any other platform. I want to get a deal.
Actually, that's true. So what you notice is that when there was a movement where a lot of restaurants walked out of a lot of these platforms, nobody actually moved out of Cred, because we have a very simple view. We will not do deep discounting. We believe that both sides to get the benefit, and if you just kind of make one party
Plus also is for like a month, or it's time bound.
So we focus on a simple model.
I mean on Cred,
yes.
just let the viewers know, if you get a reward on Cred, it's not forever. So if it's fine dining, it's for a month, you can take that voucher, or the Sleepy Owl mattress, you get so much off.
I'm so glad you know everything about all the rewards. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's funny, we work with many mattresses company, and we are doing probably 100+ mattresses a day.
Really? Mattresses are very expensive.
Exactly. And I think what we do is we ensure that there is no deep discounting. With restaurants, we do a simple model, 20% off, but at the top restaurants. What we've noticed is that restaurants get 2x the average order value from Cred members, and automatically their need to be on Cred actually increases. So we see a lot of inbound. So we have a very small partnerships team and probably 1,000 brands already on the platform. The reason is a lot of stuff is inbound because they become members and they want to list their own brand on the platform, and it just kind of becomes a great community because of that.
So, I'm going to ask you this one question because it was in the news recently, and Tracker had put out this data of how Cred is burning all this cash, it has zero revenue. But isn't that typical for a startup internet company?
Well, compared to other internet companies, we are a small fraction of what the burn is. But if you look at every internet company, the journey is very simple. Other businesses that are not on internet, they have to focus on just making revenue from day one. But if you look at every internet company, from Amazon to Airbnb to any company, the first focus is to create distribution, right? Many companies create distribution first, because that is the harder part for internet companies. Once they get distribution, if you have the right set of customers, you can always monetize in different ways. Our goal is very simple: focus on building community where we bring, for example, for the first year, we did not charge the merchants anything to be on the platform, because unless we have critical mass of customers, trying to create these things do not work. So our goal is very simple: focus on first creating value for both the parties, and then once we have enough critical mass, enough and more people will want to pay a fee and happily access them. Okay.
So will you be doing more fundraise to burn if you need to,
we have
increasing
raised,
distribution?
we raised a large round just recently, so I don't think we have any plans for that. But it's not atypical for companies to raise a large amount of capital if you have the right customers. We are fortunate about two things at Cred. First, we've been managed to get the right set of customers first. We are, unlike many companies that are focusing on mass India, we have taken the opposite direction. We are focusing on the 10-20 million customers and just focus on that. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that we have seen very strong retention on our platform, right? So what happens because of that is that any investor or any merchant that is listing on the platform feels very confident. One interesting data point for you: many marketing companies don't do well because they cannot ensure they have given it to a genuine customer, or if it's a fake account being credited to unlock that benefit. On Cred, every single account is unique and cannot be faked, so it just works because of that.
So I also want to ask you this one question. You said you're not spending any money on marketing at the moment. You're focusing on distribution. You're well funded. But Kunal Shah, you also spend a lot of time not just on Cred, but finding other startups that you back. Are you involved in them, or is that just a money play?
Nantara, I think if you notice one thing, that all founders who have the luxury of had some success have started paying it forward by investing in startups. I think
Giving back.
Yeah, honestly, I've known the top 8, 9, 10 angels who often invest along with you. I don't think all of us think about our return. If you ask me how your returns on the thing,
You made so much money, you don't have to bother about it or
it's
worry
not
about
that.
it?
I think you have to pay it forward. I think only the founders who had some success, they can help the next set of founders, right? So my logic is very simple. I invest to learn. I invest to be able to I'm a time traveler. I've spent 8, 10 years doing something. If I can help them with anything, right? So my logic is very simple. It's a way of paying forward. It's a way of helping the next set of people. There is no way you can just think about financial return. 90% of startups die. It's not the best form of investment for your own money, but I think every founder which has any amount of success has to pay it forward. We will not build an ecosystem everywhere from China to US. The founder ecosystem is what builds the next startup. I think 10, 20 years, you will see many more founders, many more early employees getting actively involved in angel investments, and that is the only way we'll build a good system.
So do you want to tell our viewers the kind of startups that you're actually backing at the moment?
Yeah, so I focus on wide variety of startups, but I focus on consumer because I think I can add some value. I don't understand B2B startups. So I have invested in companies like Zilingo in Southeast Asia, Gojek. In India, I have done Razorpay, Bharat Pay. I've been involved in startups like Rupee, which is a gold startup. I've done multiple education startups, probably around 40, 50 odd companies. Hard for me to remember most of them.
40, 50 startups
yes.
you have backed.
Yes.
And this is just with money and time.
Money and time. I do not invest in startups where I cannot give my time because I have to learn from them as well. What I have learned is that with founders, when you meet them, that 1 hour, there are 5 lessons you take and 5 lessons you can give.
Right.
Fortunately, I can recycle my 5 lessons to 50. I get 5 new every time.
That's a lovely thought, actually. Like, I remember Jeff Bezos also when he was in New Delhi. He actually said, only hire people that you can learn from. Don't think that you only have to teach. You're in the business of learning as well.
It's the single biggest lesson, I think. If we have people who can constantly teach us, they will lift us. And I think if people just focus on that, and I think therefore the big ask from the younger people who are wanting to join startups, they think they will learn at a startup. They have to understand one thing, that they have to bring the learning constantly to the startup. It is not a training place, and that's why startups are hard, because there are no ready-made manuals and SOPs given to you saying that, hey, follow this policy. There are no policies, which means you have to learn everything on the job. And I have seen that people who succeed in startups are the ones who learn on their own really, really well.
So tell me something. What is your typical day? Like, if you have to work on Cred, you have to learn something new, you have to meet a lot of other people. I'm sure you have to meet your investors.
I think, fortunately, investor time is less. Been very fortunate to be able to get a lot of support from many investors. Usually, it's with the team. What I typically do is I get involved in problem solving with different teams, so product team, design team. Sometimes I get involved with engineering and partnerships team and go into some of the meetings. I spend a lot of time with consumers, either through social media. So just the way you give feedback, I am constantly asking feedback. So I speak to a lot of people who escalate any issue to me to understand what happened. So my team is tired of me constantly sending them feedback constantly on why is this not working. But just understand one thing, retail is all about detail, right? You have to constantly...
that, retail is about detail.
Yeah, you have to be focusing on that small little feedback, right? You cannot just say, oh, because people will quickly switch off if you are not paying attention to what they are saying. And feedback is a gift. A lot of people don't realize that. I actively seek it. And people who pay attention to getting feedback, you create a community of people who are constantly helping. On an average, at least 3 or 4 founders message me about feedback about Cred. I'm so fortunate about that because they use the product, they understand something. Yesterday, Ankur from nearby messaged me saying that, hey, this payment option is not working. Fixed it overnight, sent him in the morning saying that, hey, it's fixed, can you check?
Yeah.
And only then he will feel like giving feedback next time. You have to act on feedback.
So that's how you spend most of your day.
I do. It's mostly problem solving with the team. Working hours are always crazy in startups, but
How many
I,
hours are you
so
awake in a day?
I think I'm probably work 14, 15 hours.
Okay.
It's funny, I took a break at the year and I told my team, guys, don't message me unless something is critical. But the entire vacation, I kept messaging the team
Say, hey,
for the
nothing
feedback.
happened.
And what happened is that
You had
sent,
withdrawal symptoms?
and they sent me a note saying that, hey, like you're supposed to not have any communication. I said, guys, I said, you cannot communicate with me, but I can. So
You got withdrawal symptoms, huh? That's what it was?
it is extremely hard. In Freecharge, when I operated for 5-6 years, I took 0 vacation. This time I'm trying to take vacations, but it's very hard to switch
It's a
off.
New Year resolution, I'm guessing.
I'm trying to do that.
Okay, so now, but isn't that important as well to take breaks, to
Yes.
reinvigorate yourself?
Yes, I think
Because if you don't take breaks, it'll be very tough for your teams to go on holidays. Like if you have a workaholic boss, it's a little daunting to ask for vacation.
What I have done though is I actually tell people to take breaks, and people do actively take breaks in the company. Startups, it's very hard to switch off. There is no switching off. People are working weekends,
That you'll
people
burn
are
out.
working at nights, and people are doing conference. Exactly. So you have to give them time to zoom
No,
out.
but you have to.
I am doing that. I think a mistake I made in Freecharge, I was not zooming out. One thing I've learned is that to be able to see the chessboard, you cannot be on the chessboard. You have to sometimes go away
Take a
and
step
see the
back. Yeah, yeah,
chessboard.
yeah.
I think a lot of times founders, and I have made that mistake. I tell a lot of founders that I remember telling Harsha from Swiggy very early on that, hey Harsha, you should consider working 5 hours outside the office per day. And it's funny, he actually did it, and he messaged me saying that, hey, I've got into this mode where I just work 5 hours outside the office and I get a lot of stuff done, because when you're in office, somebody's coming with another issue, you have some document to sign, and it just sucks all your hours. But if you are working outside, you have time to think, think what you're doing, defrag
Just see it
your
from the
brain.
outside, like you said.
Exactly. But the hours don't get reduced. You still have the 14, 15 hours that you have to work. That's not optional.
So you obviously know everyone who's important in the startup universe. Who do you go to for advice? I know you take feedback a lot. You brought that up, but like, who's your go-to person?
I usually try to not have one person. I think everybody brings something unique to the table. So if I have to ask advice about marketing, there are a set of people that I speak to. If I have to ask about fundraise, if I have to ask about running the operations, if I have to ask about regulatory stuff, if I have to ask about different things, what I have done is I've managed to kind of build like strong. So one thing I've learned is that startups are hard. You have to always take help. And if you take help from people, it makes it slightly easier. So what I do is I'm constantly in touch with multiple people. Last week, I had a bunch of product heads from different companies come and advise me on how I should run the product function, how should I set the org. Once I was trying to get advice on how should I structure the org structure, and 2 companies, founders came to office and helped kind of structure that for me. So for me, I have learned one simple thing. There is no way I'm going to learn everything on my own. I have to take help all the time.
So when you take help, and I'm going to ask this for all the young guys watching you, because you believe so passionately about paid forward and giving back. How should they pitch to Kunal Shah?
I think it's very hard for me to process a lot of the thing that comes on board. I usually just work on a simple format. If I know some people and they refer something to me, that's usually the best thing, right? I think most people make a mistake that thinking that you have to pitch to raise money. I think most people don't understand if you are referred, you're likely to get that done faster, because there is no bandwidth for any investor to look at every pitches. Pitching is done after you have mostly been sold beforehand, right? Pitching is just to confirm that it kind of makes sense to do this. But I think a lot of time people just think that pitching is the only way to do that. And the second mistake I think founders make is that they think raising money is the only way to start up. But it's like saying that I only can run if I have Nike shoes. It doesn't work that way. You can start running and you can get Nike shoes when you looks like you know how to run, right? But I think this culture of, and I think the problem is that media constantly reports only one thing. This company raised so much and put the founder's picture up there. So they think that that's the thing to do. But most companies in this country have been built without any fundraise. So why are we confusing this culture about starting up in this country? Raising money is not equal to starting up.
So do you think that there is actually maybe, where do you stand, that there is all this hot money that's coming in, the fears of a bubble, nobody's really going in for an IPO, right? So this is all private valuations, it can all come crashing down.
I mean, we have to understand that startups are designed for failure and uncertainty. But you have to understand that even with 10% success rate, it changes the world, right? We have to understand that from the top 500 companies that there in the world today, they did not exist a few decades ago. Most of the companies that are there in this time, and that is how the world operates, right? We have to support this. I remember Uday Kotak mentioned a very interesting thing about the difference between lending and investing. He said that in lending you get killed by the error of commission, and in investment you get killed by the error of omission. It's not the matter of you invest in 50 or not, but if one company that is going to give you 2,000% return or 5,000% return,
it has to take forward with the others actually.
Exactly.
The others have to piggyback on it.
There's a power law in startups, right? Like if you see every VC, one or two companies usually return the whole fund, and maybe 80-90% of them.
And everybody's looking for that, right?
Yeah. So I think people have little poor understanding of how startup and VC market works. We tend to just compare them with public market lens. They are designed for failure. 90% of startups will fail, even the funded ones. But the 10%, if they have breakout success, it will create enough wealth for the investors to kind of keep investing in the ecosystem.
And you see some great turnaround stories. Look at Snapdeal, the two founders. I mean, you sold Freecharge to them, and look at that. Back from death, cash positive.
And we have to not forget that they have almost died 3 times.
Yeah.
They have had a physical coupon book startup, then it was a Groupon type startup which did sold deals, they built commerce. You have to see resilience is the only trait, right, that you will see founders will kind of survive with. And it's not easy. It's never been easy for them doing all of these things. But if you see that if you are just there, persistence and grit will get you through. And it's not easy. I have seen how Kunal and Rohit kind of have been at it, change the size of the company to scale below that. And one thing that you have to understand, founders have this weird curse of being celebrated when they raise money and get awards, and be ridiculed for every failure that they have. I think as a country we should be a lot more forgiving about failures. We should not find joy in founders failing, because when we ridicule them, a lot less people will want to be founders. And
so
the country needs jobs. It's not true. The social media, anytime.
But that's a negative place anyway.
But the thing is, if we have to understand that we have to only applaud failure, because it's not the audience is not putting the money behind those companies. It's the investors who should be worried about things. But the amount of commentary that happens around founders taking steps around funding and doing these things, we will not encourage the next set of people to look up to these guys, and less people will want to be founders. We have to celebrate failure. We have to actually applaud it.
How many times did you fail?
Lost count, probably hundreds of times, fail every day, even today. But I believe that it's a necessary condition. I think success is a journey of 100 slaps. You have to get them early.
Okay, the earlier you get them, the better it is going to be. On that note, Kunal Shah, I'm going to take a break.